For example 5, we're graphing y equals 3 plus 3 times cosine of 1/4 x. So we want to compare this to the general. We have y equals c plus our amplitude times cosine b times x minus d. And so now we want to see if we have a vertical shift. Well, the vertical shift comes from adding or subtracting a value on the outside of our function, and we are adding a 3. So our vertical shift will be 3. That means that the middle of my graph will shift up to be at y equals 3. The amplitude, where we multiply times the front of the function, is a positive 3. So that's the distance from the middle of my graph to the top and to the bottom. The phase shift, well, I haven't added or subtracted anything on the outside, so there's no phase shift, but I have multiplied the front of my function, or the inside of my function, by 1/4. So the inside of my function multiplied by a number, that's my b. So if the b is 1/4, the period is 2 pi divided by b, 2 pi divided by 1/4. Flip the bottom fraction, change to multiplication, and we get 8 pi. So here's our vertical shift, our amplitude, our phase shift, and the period of our function. Now we want to know where we start and where we end. So let's put 0 and 2 pi as our original endpoints, and then we are going to put the input of our function in between the two. So we're going to put 1/4 x. Now we want to solve for x. We're going to multiply every value by 4. 4 times 0 is 0, 4 times 1/4 is x, and then that gives me 8 pi. So we are going to start at 0 and end at 8 pi. Now, since we're starting at 0 and ending at 8 pi, our midpoints are going to be very easy to find. So let's put 0 here and 8 pi here. What's halfway between 0 and 8 pi? We'll add together, divide by 2, we get 4 pi. Directly in between 0 and 4 pi would be 2 pi, and between 4 pi and 8 pi would be 6 pi. So that's very easy to find very easy way to find our midpoints. And here's our y-axis, and the vertical shift was a positive 3. So we're going to go up to a y value of 3, and this is the new middle of our graph. Our amplitude was also 3, so we're going to have to go up 3 and down 3 from this value. So let's mark off all the y values that we will need: 4, 5, and 6. And remember, we're starting here at 0 and are ending at 8 pi. So we're going to use an amplitude of 3. And let's remind ourselves what function that we are graphing, sine or cosine. And we are graphing our cosine function. And so remember, the basic shape for that is high, middle, low, middle, and then back to high. And it's not being flipped because we have a positive number multiplied times the front of our function. So here's the middle of our graph. The cosine function starts at the max. Remember that our amplitude is 3, so we're going up 3 from the middle of the graph to start with. At the next point, 2 pi, we come down to the middle. At 4 pi, we're down to the minimum. We're going to go down 1, 2, 3 units from the middle, and that puts us right there on the x-axis. 6 pi, we are back to the middle of our graph, and then at 8 pi, we are back up to the maximum. So here's a one period interval of our cosine function with an amplitude of 3, a vertical shift of positive 3, no phase shift, and a period of 8 pi.